Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I am not sure when you're watching this video, but I am blessed and thankful that you are watching this video. If you're out on vacation, that's very nice of you. Sometimes when I go on vacation, I gotta be honest, I just don't make time to watch the video and learn more about God's Word. So as you're on vacation, bring us some pictures, enjoy your time. But if you're at home and you're not able to attend the service at the local church, uh, just want to say we'll continue to pray for you, and may God help you, bless you. May God give you recovery if you're sick also. It's such a wonderful blessing that we have this recording, even though sometimes I personally don't enjoy it a lot. One is because I'm not used to it. Two, because every time I record, I feel like I'm stuck in a little square. Uh, and then it seems like we were chit chatting, Manuela and I, about it, that it seems like you're not able to make mistakes. And as a human, I make way too many of them. So as we get into the Bible today, you guys know that the subject, or at least the subject that I decided of this week, is the church that Jesus built. The church that Jesus built. Boy, there's been a lot of sermons on the church of Jesus built. And I'm sure whether they use Matthew chapter 16 or they used Luke chapter 9, Mark chapter 8, uh, that questions that Jesus gave to his disciples bring out Peter's expressing himself, saying, I believe that you are Jesus, the Son of the living God. You are the Christ. But I want to recall you that on this chapter of Mark chapter 16, Jesus is near the area of Caesarea. Let's go to Matthew. And it says that Jesus, while he was in the area of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, what do you people say? What do you, oh, sorry, who do people, you see, there goes one mistake. Okay, and I'm not going to change the computer here. But it says, who do people say that the Son of Man is? And they replied, some say you're John the Baptist. Others say Elijah. And still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. Then Jesus goes on to ask again, but why, what about you? Who do you say I am? He asked. Simon Peter then goes on and answered. And he says, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And then Jesus will continue to say that this was given to you by the Father. And then Jesus will go on to say, I will build my church. Jesus, for the first time, talks about the building of group of people, of group of individuals. He was going to call out a group of individuals for a specific task. Now, this was interesting because there were already people, like when they're in Philippi, there was a group of people near it. In fact, the other writer says that Jesus, as he's praying, so he goes to the side to pray, and while the apostles follow him, then he turns around and starts with his questions. Who do the people say that I am? Now, this one is not that Jesus is trying to feel super good to say, hey guys, apostles, I want to ask you guys, who do they say I am? Because, I just walked on water. I just did so many healings. I have done so many things that by now the community, the people that are following us, those people that I fed, just with maybe a few bread or something, those people, who do they say that I am? See, he wasn't trying, and we don't believe that he was trying to make himself good, feel good. But Jesus, many times, he would go on to give us questions. Because through questions, through asking something, we open up our hearts, we open up our minds, and we start saying, especially opening up those little brains up there, and we start answering certain things. In fact, it is known that through bad answers, you know that the person is starting to think. Okay, bad answers are not something negative all the time. Bad answers are something that you say, well, at least that child, that person, whoever it is, he's starting to think. And this is where Jesus will go on to always give us questions. So today I want to concentrate on those two questions that Jesus gave his disciples before he talks about the establishment of his church. Before the establishment of his church, Jesus needs to know, Jesus wants to know, Jesus wants you to start thinking, what is it that you think of him? For instance, the apostles answer, well, they say that you're John the Baptist, you're Elijah, or you're one of those prophets that resurrected, that came back. Who do we think that Jesus is? Every single day is a question that we must answer ourselves. Last time that I was speaking, I spoke on the subject of that God loves, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only begotten Son. That love that God had was so precious, just like this establishment of the church. The love that God has for us brought us Moses, who for 40 years promised, trying to show the people the promised land, walked for 40 years with them. And that question of who do you think Moses was also said and was also thought of the people. See, the people must have had, at least at first, say, you know what, we have faith that this person that's bringing us out is somebody unique, somebody special, somebody that's going to get us to that point. But we know that many times that while they were walking, they said, hey, Moses, what are you doing? Where are you taking us? There was doubt. So in our lives, many times there's doubt, and that's why questions come about. Now, you guys remember also that fellow named Noah, who for about 100 years, as he was building the ark, as he was taking his time to cut wood and bring it down and nailing it down, and the people would look at him, people would say, what in the world is that fellow doing? See, Noah knew that the world was going to be destroyed through water. He had faith in God. That's what it was told. So he starts building, but that doesn't mean that the people have faith on Noah. In fact, we know that hardly nobody had faith in him because there was very few that got into the ark. So Noah would have said, what do they think? What are they thinking of me? And you know what they were thinking of Noah. They're like, this fool, this crazy guy building this ark in a place that he shouldn't be building. But Noah had a reason to be doing that. Jesus had lived 30 years, had entered into the 3 year of preaching, of teaching. Now, in the middle of this, he comes up with that question. Who do people say that the Son of Man is? What does the dictionary say? Well, the dictionary could have said, well, Jesus is a human being. Jesus is somebody who's speaking out, who's doing different things. in our lives, we always got to ask ourselves that same question. Jesus goes on now after asking those two questions. Who do you say, the last one, who do you say that I am? Will answer unto Peter, and it says, blessed are you, Simon, son of Noah, for this was not revealed to you by man, but by my Father in heaven. I tell you that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. The church that Christ established has a purpose, has a reason why it was established. But as we sit back today and we look at the things that our fathers, our grandparents did, we need to ask ourselves, what do people think about us? What do people think about the church? We know that the dictionary says that the church, when you look at the word church in the dictionary, we see that it says that it's a building used for public worship. If somebody had one of those bells, it would be like, nah, 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 you're wrong. Or maybe you'll say you're right. That word church has been used so many times the wrong way. In fact, people always say, you probably heard it, and those of you who know a lot of things about the Bible, when we hear people say, oh, I went to wash the windows of the church. And all you philosophical people say, wait, no. The church does not have windows. Well, I got windows because I got these glasses, kind of like windows. Or maybe we hear people say, I'm going to go clean the carpet of the church. And they're using it because the dictionary says that the church is the building. But we have studied differently, and we know that the biblical term of church means the house of the Lord. And here in this book of Matthew, chapter 16, it really means a group of people, or the people that are called out. Brother Joel has told us many times about the word ecclesia or ecclesia. Ecclesia means the people that are called out from the world into the Christian idea. When we talk about the church, is what do the people say about us? What do the people say about each one of us? Maybe they say that group or that church is a group of individuals doing charitable work, and they're good people. Maybe they don't get along with you, and maybe they'll just say, well, that church is just a bunch of sinners. Or maybe they really don't like you, and they say, well, that church, just bunch of hypocrites. There's a lot of things that people think about the church. In fact, here in the book of Matthew, chapter 16, when Jesus asked, what do they think about me? He's talking about that little group. That group, not little, but 5,000, 10,000, the group that was following. He wasn't talking about what does the world think about me. He was saying, what is that group? See, sometimes what people think, and I will repeat this one, what people thought of Moses, what people thought of Noah, it makes a reflection on your self-esteem. It makes a reflection of how you feel every single day. So in some cases, it is somewhat important what people say. So it is important then for us to act the way we should so that people can know us a little bit better. The church is the people that have been called. The church also, we must understand that Jesus tells Peter, I will build my church. The church is not a group that is guided by human organization. It's not organized by humans or is not ruled by them. The church is Christ's church. He says, I will build my church. So that group of individuals that are called every single week in different places of the world, they become part of that church, and that church that Christ built, they need to follow his teachings. They need to follow Jesus Christ every single day. We are controlled by God, not by individuals. As you probably recall in book of Acts chapter 2 verse 47, let me take you guys there. Just hold on to the book of Matthew. But Acts chapter 2 verse 42, it says, they devoted themselves to the apostles and teachings and to the fellowship, to the breaking of the bread. But if you go on lower, it says, praising God and enjoying the favor of all people. And the Lord added unto the church daily those who were being saved. So the called out, the people that are called out to be saved, to join the church, are called out by Christ, not by the human. And now they are being taught also by Christ. In fact, the Bible clearly teaches us that they follow the teachings of the apostles, and the apostles follow the teachings of Christ. The church, we need to focus every single day of our lives on the teachings of Christ and the teachings of the apostles. But also in the book of Acts there, it says that they continue with the fellowship. Why is it that the church decides to go to church on Sunday? Well, we know that that day on Sunday, we remember Christ's resurrection. Just like we do it with the Lord's Supper, we remember all those things. Brothers and sisters, a lot of times we need to understand. We need to understand in our lives that we have gone through so many periods. The church has gone through so many periods where there's been different things that happen. The church is every single day is guided by our elders, is guided by our deacons, is guided by the members. The church is an independent body. I know you probably heard that we're like a non-denomination. But yes, as we are a non-denomination, that means we are not controlled by anybody. And that is tough. It's not like today that we might be having some problems on monetary issues, let's say, that we're able to call the Pope and say, hey, send us $500,000, we need it. We can't. It's not that we could say, hey, call the Baptist church and let them know that we need $10,000 or $50,000. As a church that is independent, as a church that decides to follow what Christ's teachings are, it's a church that is making choices by ourselves, by our studying. The church and many other churches, we are struggling. I don't know if we've been struggling. I know that we've been struggling before COVID. And I know that as COVID came in, we continue to struggle hard. The struggling is not easy. Churches are suffering. In fact, the number one growing church, this year in 2023, brothers and sisters, it's not a church. It's a group. It's a group that they say, we no longer need a church. It's a group of youngsters. It's a group of older people. It's a group of all types of humans that say, no, we don't need to go to church building. They were the number one growing. When they have asked people, is like, what do you think of church? People say, I don't need a church. I don't need a church. That is sad. The churches continue to suffer. And even though the kids that we take to church, I know my kids, even I take them as much as we can, they'll answer and they'll say, sometimes church is not fun. Church is a little bit boring. Maybe it is a little bit for them because they're into other things in the world. The world is grabbing them day by day. We need to look back and answer back to God and say, wait a minute, what is it that we need to do? And as I read to you guys the book of Acts chapter 2, it says they devoted themselves to the apostles, teaching, unto the fellowship, to the breaking of the bread, and to prayers. Everyone was filled with awe. Everybody was happy. Everybody was rejoicing. We need to, as a church, get back to rejoicing. I'm one of those, honestly, I'm one of those that when I go to church, I want to do something. I don't know if it's leading a song, something. I want to do something. When I go to church and I don't do but shake hands and say hello and different things, I just feel like I needed to do more. That's how I feel. I don't know how you feel. I'm having always a time where I know that Spanish churches, I grew up in Spanish churches, and English churches, they're a little bit different. Just a little bit different. I know that in Spanish churches, we try to put every single member to act, to do something. And we might overdo it. I'm not sure. And as I continue to grow into the English church, I see a difference. And may God bless us. May God help us. The church that Christ built would always, according to the book of Matthew, will be here for as long as possible. What is the mission of the church? The Bible says in Matthew 28, verse, I believe, 18, it says, go there to the apostles. He told them, go there to all the nations and preach the gospel, teaching them, baptizing them. That is our job. That is what we need to continue to do every single day of our lives. The church will continue. If you're part of the church, I ask you, get in there. Get involved. Do not let the world carry you out and say, hey, you're going to be okay. You could be worshiping all by yourself. If you need me to worship with you at your house and you just can't come to service, give me a call. I'll be happy. I'll be happy to bring by the sodas or whatever and get to know you wherever you're at. May God bless you guys. We'll see you guys again.